Now I have a thought experiment for those of you who argue that metaphysics and epistemology and philosophy is irrelevant to science. This thought experiment, if you really contemplate it for a while, this is the final nail in the coffin of the idea that philosophy and science are supposed to be separate and independent. Here's the thought experiment. Imagine that you're in a really high-quality VR simulation. Imagine you were born into it, Matrix style. This simulation is amazing. It has objects and it has a whole world, flourishing world, like a video game world, with people and animals and trees and stuff to study and examine. And so you're so fascinated by this virtual world that you're living in. Of course, you don't know that it's virtual. You're living in it, and you decide to become a scientist within this virtual world and to study this virtual world. Okay? So you devote your entire career to that. You spend 30, 40 years doing that. And then as you're sitting there studying the simulation, someone like me comes to you one day and says, hey, you know, you're really good at studying the mechanics of this simulation, but have you ever thought about what this simulation actually is that you're studying? What is the actual substance? What is the truth? What's really going on here? What is this life that you're living? Have you ever thought about this? And the scientist says, of course, as they typically do, that's outside my domain of concern. I don't care about that. I'm a simple scientist. I just do my experiments. I just study this phenomenon. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about philosophy. Those are questions beyond science. Science does not care about that. These are issues of truth, and science doesn't pursue truth. Science is just a simple pragmatic activity. All we're doing is we're just mapping some variables in life, and that's it. See, science is humble. And so you wave me away. So of course I leave because I can't convince you otherwise. And then one day after a long, rich life, the simulation ends and a new simulation begins. You're in a totally different world. Imagine switching video game discs. You're now in a totally different world, totally different environment, totally different people, animals, creatures, physical laws. Absolutely everything has changed. Now here's my question to you. What has remained of your science? All of that science that you spent 40 years doing, is any of it true anymore? What has remained? Nothing. Nothing remains. Everything you thought was true was only relatively true. Maybe it would have been useful for you to wonder about the bigger picture, rather than just getting locked into your little endeavor of studying the laws and mechanics of the particular simulation that you were in. That's the thought experiment. Contemplate that for yourself. Now, people will misunderstand me here. People will think that, oh, Leo, so are you saying that we're inside of a VR simulation? Are you saying reality is a simulation? Actually, no. I'm saying exactly the opposite. I'm conclusively saying that you can become conscious that reality is not a simulation. You are definitely not in a simulation. You can become directly conscious of this. But you may be in a dream. All right, next point. The next point is that all scientific truths are relative. And of course, you're wondering, how can this be the case? Well, the previous example give you a little taste of it, but I want to just make this very explicit a little bit more. So, here are all the relativizing factors of scientific truth. Scientific truth is always relative to culture, society, era, language, mental categories, your paradigm or method, the instruments that you use to collect your data, your neurology, which is related to your DNA, your perception, your intelligence, your mental capacity, your ego mind, and your state of consciousness. All of these factors completely relativize any truth of science, such that if all these factors were changed sufficiently enough, any truth of science would no longer be true, it would be false. So, whatever, tell me some statement that you think is absolutely true within science. What do you think is absolutely true? It can't be false. What do you think that is? all of it can be relativized. That statement that you're thinking of can be changed. You might even say, Leo, what about 1 + 1 = 2? That has to be true in every conceivable universe, even. No, it doesn't. You're wrong. It doesn't have to be true in every conceivable universe. That's just something you're assuming. The only reason that you think 1 + 1 = 2 is absolutely true in all conceivable universes is because actually of the particular state of consciousness that you're in right now. If your state of consciousness changed and your neurology changed, 1 + 1 = 2 would not be true for you. That's what it is. And so would every other scientific fact. So yeah, presents a problem for science, doesn't it? See, scientists really don't like admitting this. They really don't like admitting this. Because they want their discoveries to be absolutely true, but they aren't. Here are some examples of how this works. So, early humans might have said that objects fall down. This is an absolute truth. Objects fall down. Of course, once you zoom out and you see the larger context, you realize that objects don't fall down. Down is just a relative notion to the local, curvature of the Earth that we're on, and that in fact there's no such thing as down, because down, every direction is down when you're in space. There's no down. Down is relative. So the idea objects fall down, it seems true only when you're on the surface of the Earth, and then it's not true when you're in outer space or on some other planet, or even when you're on the opposite side of the globe. Now up becomes down. You might say, today is 12 o'clock. That's a scientific statement. Is it really? No, it's not. It's 12 o'clock here. It's 1 o'clock one state over. It's 2 o'clock in the next country, and so on, of course. So obviously that's relative. Time is relative. Einstein showed that. How about the Eiffel Tower? You might say the Eiffel Tower is 984 feet tall. That's the number they gave me on Google, 984 feet tall. So if the Eiffel Tower is 984 feet tall, that's an objective fact, right? Nope, completely relative. According to Einstein, depending at the speed at which you're moving at, relative to the Eiffel Tower, changes its length. If you're the closer you move to the speed of light, the Eiffel Tower will look shorter and shorter to you. So that measurement of 984 feet, that assumes that you are within the same inertial frame as the Eiffel Tower. But of course, that can change, easily could change. How about the statement that snow is white? That's true, right? No, of course not. It's relative. If you take LSD, snow is not going to be white anymore. If you have a neurological disorder where you can't see colors correctly, people have those, then white is not going to look white to you. It might look gray, might look purple, who knows, could look any color. In fact, you don't even know what the word white even refers to. What you call white might be my black. This is called the reverse spectrum problem, and in fact, there's no way to scientifically resolve this problem. So this is just a little taste of how scientific statements work. Any scientific statement that you think is absolutely true, if you think about it a little bit harder, you'll realize that it's relative and conditional and can be changed as long as we change the context within which you're holding it.